I just want to talk about fear, low self-esteem, and worry about my kids and about my wife. I wanted to be the protector. I wanted to be the provider of all the needs.
Big job, isn't it?
Yes, it is a big job. And sometimes I feel so not competent for the job.
Well, of course you're incompetent for the job because it isn't your job. In other words, you can't be where they all are. You can't think their thoughts. You can't be their point of attraction.
You see, one thing is my kid has autism. And it's one of the things that me and my wife worry so much about it because we don't figure out how to communicate with him, how to help him sometimes.
Well, we want to give you something about that because as so often when we encourage someone to talk a little bit, as you just did, so much of what you say answers so much of what you say. Let's just start by addressing this subject of autism. You live in a world where so many people have lost track of who they are, where most are wanting to feel good, but believing they can't under this condition and this condition and this condition. So your culture is working very hard at trying to ramrod conditions so that they can have better feeling responses to those conditions, but it's an impossible task. But they keep trying. In other words, when a child is born, it is born knowing its power and clarity and having its own sense of beingness and really wanting to live its life on its own terms. But it's born, usually, especially in this Western world, into a society that says, well, you're the last one in, therefore you have to keep our rules. And if this child could speak, it would be saying, I am the last one in, meaning I am the best representative of all that you have all become. In other words, as these children come in, even at birth, they are surer and more the being that you have been working to become than any of you who have been here for all of the years that you've been working. They have a confidence about them. So they want to say to you, I am the last one in, meaning I am the one that remembers most clearly who I really am. But they see from the non-physical perspective that so many of them, you come, you're born, you're little, you're sort of helpless in the sense that you need someone to bring you food and water. You can't walk around for a while. You don't have any teeth. You can't even really chew anything. Your vision isn't all that great at first. In other words, you are sort of dependent on those obnoxious adults who surround you who are so sure that they have the right version of life going on. And so they are determined that they're going to tell you about all the potholes that you might step in and all of the things that might go wrong. And they begin a barrage of causing conformity within you almost the day that you are born. Certainly, early in your experience, they begin insisting on your conformity. So now, more and more of them are coming forth, determined to be unconformable. In other words, they're just sure about who they are and wanting to be different enough that you can't hammer that square peg into that round hole. It's true of those who are coming forth with different sexuality orientation than what the majority of you would prefer. It's true of those that are coming forth with autism. They're coming forth in great numbers, different enough that you cannot force their conformity. And the message that they teach collectively is unconditional love. What they're wanting you to understand is that I'm all right as I am. Please don't need me to be different so that you can feel better. It's the gift of unconditional love that they're giving you. It's not one that they're asking for from you. They're saying to you, I'm happy as I am. Don't ask me to be different than I am so that you can be happy. Be happy as I am. And when you are happy as I am, then my reason for being will have been fulfilled. You see. And so then you say, but I worry, how will my child get along in this world? And we want you to understand that when someone is living in this environment, that the contrast that surrounds them is setting up their future experience. And this child who has autism, if he will be left to be who he is, in other words, can you feel the frustration that he feels when you try to drag him to the place that he's not ready or able to go to? And so if you don't drag him, if you allow him to be, in this well-being place that he naturally is, he is the best example of someone living the art of allowing of anyone that you know currently in your life experience. This workshop is full, and weekend after weekend, hundreds of people coming to learn about the art of allowing. He knows it innately. And so you don't need to worry. His life experience is going to cause him to put things in his vibrational escrow, and his innate proclivity to be an allower will mean the universe will always be able to deliver to him what he wants. You're the only one that's using his autism as the excuse to not allow in your experience what you want. He's not doing that, you see. You see how it works?
Yes.
So, by having the gift of this different child, you have the gift of putting things in your vibrational escrow that would not have been there otherwise. So, you have begun a sort of supersonic expanding, and the fear that you feel is only the indication that you're not keeping up with you. When you think a thought like, something's going to go wrong with my child, or my child is going to have a hard life, that is so contrary to what you want and who you really are and what you really know, that thought is just a torturous thought. And the fear you feel is the indication of that. This gathering has been a very good day of expressing over and over again that your work is the same work no matter what the subject is. You've got to come into vibrational alignment, and when you do, you'll know that you've come into alignment with that broader point of view, and you'll feel your power. And if you really want to communicate with your child, who is pure positive energy, you've got to get there. And now, here's something even more exciting to think about. You say, I can't communicate with my child because he is not good with language. And we say, he's good at vibrational language. He's good at the language of source. When you look into his eyes, doesn't he speak volumes to you? Mm-hmm. And when you're out there on the raw and ragged edge, it's your inability to communicate with him that's bothering you.
It is.
You see? So decide now that you're going to communicate with this child vibrationally. You're going to come into alignment with who you are. And you're going to communicate by the way you feel. So you're going to communicate love to him and confidence. Well, you talked about a feeling of insecurity. You can't worry and be secure at the same time. They're different vibrations. So as you lean downstream a little more every day, you're going to discover your connection with Source. And as you do that, you're going to have full communication with your child. You're going to be amazed at the conversations that you have. Your desire to communicate with your child is your sort of backdoor entrance into your own vibrational alignment with who you are. You wouldn't do it for yourself, but you'll do it for your child, you see. Mm-hmm. And that's the gift he brings. It was the agreement you all had, and it's a big one, and it's worth it. And there's nothing broken here.
I see.
Enough?
Yes, plenty. I just got one more question, and not for me, it's actually for my wife, who's been struggling for a weight issue for life. She's 49 now, and she's really lost. She would like to be here and ask you something about that, what you can say to her.
The important thing to realize is that when what is causes you to feel fat, you can't become slender. You have to find a way of feeling the way you want to be even before you are. And that's a tricky thing, because how you are is so in your face. So it's a matter of just leaning a little more toward what you're wanting. The way we want to say it in easy to hear terms, easy to hear, it takes a little more practice to really know it. You have to start telling a different story. And so many of you are stuck in this. It's like you think that somebody shot you with truth serum the day you were born, and if you don't tell things exactly the way they are, then the world will crash down upon you. And so you just keep telling it like it is, 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 complaining about how it is, complaining about how it is, keeping how it is active in your vibration, and things can't change under those conditions. You got to tell a different story. So then most would say, well, the reason is such and such. The reason is I've been worried, and there have been thousands of books written on this subject, and most people just know too much. We're surprised any of you can find anything to eat. Because everything that you eat, somebody's written a book about why you shouldn't eat it. And so it's a rare person who sits to eat anything who doesn't have strong vibrational contradiction within them while they're eating it. And so the most important thing that we want to say is you have to make peace with your food. You have to make peace with where you are. And so just feel this. This is really going to help you on all topics, but especially this one. So, you are where you are. Isn't that profound? I am where I am. Write that down. I am where I am. But does it matter where you are? Now think about it. In terms of what we've been talking about all day here today. Does it matter where you are? If the stream is moving toward where you want to be, does it matter where you are? When you make peace with where you are, you turn downstream easily. When you don't make peace with where you are, you're upstream. And most people who are experiencing what your mate is experiencing are upstream, 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 because they're not just factoring in their own vibrational stream, they're factoring in how everybody else thinks about them. Everyone who looks at them, they contemplate what that person is thinking. So it's upstream, upstream, upstream. You got to leave everybody else out of the equation. And you have to only be aware of where you are in relationship to where you want to be. And as that is your dominant intent, it just gets easier and easier. When we say we want you to find a way of quantifying your journey, we want you to understand that a feeling of good is closing the gap and a feeling that doesn't feel good is widening the gap. Kate is 5, Jerry Nestor's granddaughter. And when they play with her, which they often do, Kate brings a little car. And she loves to hide it somewhere in the room or in the garden. And she hides it and then she gives them clues. Jerry Nestor didn't see her hide it. But Kate will say, "You're getting warmer. You're getting warmer. Oh, that's colder. That's colder. Colder." So then Jerry Nestor turn. "Oh, you're getting warmer. You're getting warmer. Hot, hot. You're getting hot, hot." And they find it every time. And the reason they find it is because Kate knows where it is. And she's giving them clues. And we want you to know the source within you knows where it is and is giving you clues. Negative emotion, you're getting colder, you're getting colder, you're getting colder. Positive emotion, you're getting warmer, you're getting warmer, you're getting warmer, you're getting hot, 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 and then it manifests, you see. And so you have to make your journeys emotional journeys. Never mind what is. 99.99% of every creation is completed vibrationally before you see the evidence. So what happens? We see people, someone really, really sick, wanting so much to be well, and Source is calling them toward wellness, and now they're beginning to get a feeling of hope. And they're moving on their way. They see no manifestation, so if they go to the doctor, they still get the same test results, but vibrationally they're moving. There's still no manifestational evidence, but they're moving toward it. But if they stop and take score, and then they see that the tests are still telling them that they're sick, most of them turn right upstream because they haven't quantified their journey. They don't know that the improved feeling means they're moving in the right direction. And so they say, "This is too hard." And we say, "It's not hard. You're just going about it wrong. You're going about it with action and with words instead of with vibration and emotion." If you care about how you feel and you will guide your thoughts toward that which feels better, you will get to where you want to be every single time. But it isn't easy to let go of the way you have been thinking. And that's the difference. You've got to start seeing yourselves differently. You have to start seeing yourselves differently. And when you try to make too big of a jump, you never do. So just make incremental jumps. Make peace with where you are. Appreciate your magnificent body as it is. Appreciate that it moves, that it is flexible, that it digests, that it assimilates. Accept the cellular metabolism, the cellular functioning. Your body is a veritable chemical factory. It is an amazing mechanism. It is morphing constantly into that which is new. It is constantly becoming. It will be whatever you ask it to be. It will be whatever you ask it and allow it to be. It will be whatever you want it and allow it to be. It will be whatever you ask if you will allow it. It will be whatever you see it to be. It will be whatever you expect it to be. It will be what you expect it to be. And most of you can't expect past what is. That's your limitation. You find it hard to expect past what is. And we say, you got to stretch that expectation by listening, by feeling for it. And when you start feeling, oh, if you could feel what Source expects for you. And that's why so often you feel such strong negative emotion. That's that fear and inadequacy that you were describing earlier. When you look at yourself so differently than the way Source looks at you, when you don't expect good things from you, because Source is expecting such wonderful things from you, there's a cross current going on. When you expect things to go wrong with your children and Source expects things to go well with your children, there's a cross current going on. When you expect the economy to collapse and the Source within you expects it to cycle like it always does and rebound and recover and be stronger than ever, you're cross current with your vibration, you see.